Okay, a few days ago we got our sheet metal in from metalsdepot.com, and we're going to see what we can see. All right, it was certainly packed well. 2 layers of this corrugated cardboard on either side. Got a 2-foot section, 5 feet long, and I dare say that should do the trick for us. Look at that. I'll have to write the company on that, tell them I'm dissatisfied. Or take a flat hammer and just tap it out and it'll be okay. This is 20 gauge. I know it's debatable. Well, should I use 18 or 20 or blah, blah, blah. You know what? It just doesn't matter. Not for this. We're going to be cutting a strip that will be welded in all along the top of this side of this top lip. One down here as well. And we still need to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to remove any of this. Anytime you start a complicated project, it's always best to shoot for the easy spot first. That way you sort of build up to it, you know? It's kind of like taking a really hard test. Just go down through the list and answer all the easy questions first. It kind of warms your brain up, right? Gets you in the mood, gets those cogs in your head just a turning. So then when you come along to the hard problems, well, you've already figured out a few things and you can tackle them more efficiently. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and cut out a little section right here, see what it looks like, and then start to make a new piece with our new metal. All right, time to remove a little bit of rust here, and I've got some light surface rust here we've got to knock out. But the problem is, how do you get to it, right? So that's not a lot of room down in there. And you could use chemicals, you could convert it, you could do this, you could do that. But you know what? I'm all about fresh ideas. So I'm just going to try something real quick and just to see how well it works. All right, we got the old oscillating saw here with some 60 grit sandpaper taped to the end of a wood blade. All right, we knocked a fair amount off of there. It's actually pretty smooth now. Didn't knock out all the red because I just couldn't put a whole lot of pressure on it. This little section right here will get cut out anyway. This corner down here, it looks like they've got some sort of epoxy or some sort of filler right here. So sandpaper's not going to do me a whole lot of good. I'll have to scrape that out first. All right, let's go ahead and cut this center section out. And let's go ahead and mark it off a little bit. This piece of metal here, this is pretty good. But it gets really thin right in here. I think what I'm going to do is just go from here over to about right here. And as far as the depth goes, I think we can wing it. I don't think we need to go too deep this way. Maybe just about an inch. There's a bubble right there, so we'll go to the bottom of that bubble. That's about an inch. All right, so let me get a straight edge and mark that off. there we are. There's that little piece of metal that we pulled out. This area here is pretty rough indeed, missing a lot of stuff, and this is really thin right in here. Still had some good stuff back here, clearly, but we want a consistent shape, although that doesn't look very consistent, but you know, we'll make it work. It's got a bend to it as well. And this area back here was really, really thin, so I didn't want that in the car. So I think we're going to call this good. All right, we're going to take this piece right here and go ahead and start making a template out of the new stuff. All right, we got our little piece of metal here. I just basically cut that out of the new piece with some tin snips. And it's not body work, really. Nobody's going to see it. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and do our bend. So this is right at 11/16, this dimension right here. So, you know, whatever 11/16 is in metric, I don't know. Google it. But let's go ahead and mark that on our piece here. That would be an acorn landing on the shop roof. If you're not prepared for it, it'll scare you. All right, we got our 11/16 line there. And next thing we're going to do is, I really need a metal brake, but I don't want to go buy one. I had one, but I loaned it out and they've still got it. So, and it's really heavy and I don't want to go get it. So this piece isn't very long. I'm going to see if I can get this done in the vise. We'll see how that goes. All right, I changed my mind. I went ahead and went up to the boat dock tool store and I picked up a bench top metal brake. This will do 18-inch sheet metal up to 16 gauge. Well, let me put this thing together and get it mounted up. All right, this is an extremely rudimentary metal brake. I went ahead and mounted it to some sawhorses because that was really easy to do. And the operation is pretty much like that. You clamp that down over the top of your metal and then you pull up and boom, you make a bend. So let's get busy. Here's the piece we want to bend. We've got our mark there. So you have to make an allowance for the radius of the bend. I'm going to move that slightly past my line to allow for the radius of the bend. And let's just see how well we do. All right, we've got that in position. Let's go ahead and clamp it down. All right, let's see how well this goes. All right, not too shabby. I think I get a little bit over 90 there, but that's okay. That's not too bad. Let's see how it compares against the very rusted original part. Let's see. I think I got that side a little too long. Actually, that really doesn't matter at all. So if we look at our radius, our bend radius on the original part is a little tighter than the cheap Harbor Freight bendy tool, but that's okay. That's good enough for homework. All right, the next thing we have to do is apply the same arc to the new piece that we made. If you just place it in there, you can tell right away that, of course, this one is straight, and right in the middle, there's a very slight arc. So it's not huge like it is here, thankfully, but it's there nonetheless. So I took the old piece, put it here on the bench on my greasy cardboard, and I drew an outline here, and there is a very slight arc there. What we're going to do is apply the same arc to this new piece of sheet metal. Okay, I'm going to arbitrarily cut a groove here right in the middle so we can do a bend. All right, I went ahead and cut 3 different slits in that, and I just hand tweaked it with my hands here, and did a stare and compare against this piece right here. And this is our template line that we want to go against, that we want to compare against. And our new piece falls in line with the curvature of the old one there. There's my my pencil line there. That little bump in the pencil line is due to the roughness of the rust. So, all right, I think this is good to go. So if you take it over here, and it's not a huge deal, but I'd like for it to have the same curvature, you know. So if you just give it an eyeball, let's just give it an eyeball. It looks pretty good. All right, up next, let's go ahead and weld up these little pieces right here to retain our curve. All right, pretty gnarly looking, but you know what? It'll do. We got the curve we want. You see the curve in there? And our booger wells. Man, those are very boogerish. Is that a word? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. No one's ever going to see it. Especially that side, because that's like on the inside near the fuel tank. Once we put 14 coatings of primer and a whole bunch of paint over the top of that, it'll never rust again. So, all right. All right, we got 2 curves to deal with, so we've taken care of the first one. Now, the first curve was like that. The other one is like that, right? I believe we have our first curve taken care of quite nicely. Well, let's work on the second one. And we'll cut some notches in the top of this. Give her a little bend or two, and then we'll do a little more welding. After that, we'll cut it to size and weld it into place. All right, we took her back over there, and we cut 3 slots along the top, and so that we could bend it a little bit that way and get that sort of compound curve. Not that I'm trying to be, you know, really, really spot on, technically crazy correct here, but I think that fits pretty good. Got this little gap right here, but hey, look at that. You know, you pinch them together and boom, it goes away. You know what? I think that's about as good as I can get, folks, as far as the curvature goes. So right now, our next step is to cut it to size. So we got to trim it down to make it fit the hole, and then we'll tack weld it into place, make sure it's good to go, and then we'll finish up the weld all the way around. All right, let's clean up the hole we made a little bit. All right, I believe we got that deburred. Take all the sharp corners off. All right, we spent the last 45 minutes or so tweaking this thing, cutting it down to size, deburring, checking and rechecking, and what all. So I believe we got a pretty good fit here. So it'll go in there, pretty much just like that. So on either end, it's the proper height. And we have, kind of hard for me to hold it in there, but we got the right curvature going this way and that way. And I feel pretty good about it. Right on this end, there's a little extra gap, but whatever. We can fill that in with a little bit of welding. That's no big deal. You'll note that it hangs out a little bit farther, but you know what? I'm not even going to worry with that. I'm not going to cut it off. All I'm trying to do is fill in gaps where there was rusted metal. And I don't need to chop that off because this whole thing is going to be covered up by that window channel that's laying over there on the bench. As a matter of fact, we're going to get another piece of steel that's going to weld over the top of this whole thing, and then the window channel will be welded on top of that. All in all, I'm liking that. I think that looks pretty good. We're going to weld this up pretty soon, but not today. Right now, we're going to go work on the old W210 because we've got to have a new fuel pump and a new crank sensor because we've got a new driver around the old shop here, and they've got to have something to drive. We're going to call this a video, folks. Did a little fabrication in this one. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it fits. And by the time I get through applying all the chemicals that I'm going to use on this thing, it'll never rust again. I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy restoring your classic Mercedes.